Hey friends, a big hello to you. It's Seryoga here, and this is the YouTube channel Assistant. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to catch perch. In the spring, I filmed a video about catching perch in cold water. You guys approved well of him. There were a lot of likes, a lot of views. You just said Seryoga with them, how to catch him in the spring when the water is already warming up, guys. Who hasn't seen video catching perch in cold water? There will be a hint here, somewhere you are now on top. You can go watch this video, understand for yourself many interesting facts about catching perch. But in the spring, when the water warms up, the fish come to life after hibernation, everything is much different, much simpler. Even more so than in the fall when the water is cooling down. Now the fish is starting to wake up and behave more actively. Let's, how should I put it, recall the most basic fundamentals. What is perch? Perch is a small predatory fish that eats other fish. Worms, crayfish, caterpillars, and larvae. And other creatures that are found in the water. Also, the perch is like a cannibal. It eats itself here, like the pike, it eats itself. Perch eats small pike fry, really tiny ones. It eats small perch, eggs, and all sorts of other fish. So guys, what's relevant when it comes to perch? These are passive lures like crayfish, and this is now with the arrival of warm water. When it warms up, there are all sorts of possible twisters. But since the water is still quite clear and hasn't had time to get covered with silt yet, it's time for the algae to grow. Nothing is blooming, that's a must. When catching perch, it's a fluorocarbon leader with a diameter of about 0.16, ranging from 0.14 to 0.18. This is the limit leader. When it comes to the spinning rod that's best for catching perch, of course, it's an ultralight. In my case, my favorite weights are from 1 to 5, well, up to 7 grams. Here, I'm catching perch. To be honest with you, when the water is cold, like it is now, in winter, I use 1 gram, 1.5 grams up to 2 grams. So in autumn and winter, I use weights like these. And 2-inch silicone. When does the water warm up depending on the areas? Behind me right now, you can see the bend of the river. There's a strong current here, and you can use up to 3 grams. The most important thing, for me, the relevant weight when catching perch is 3 grams. Anything above 3 is already too much. I would even say for pike, because in my opinion, perch bites best with weights up to 3 grams. This is the size of the jig head. This is its weight, the lure. You can feel it. For example, 3 grams, you have lead. 2 inches, you have silicone, a hook, and this total weight is just about the average weight and size of the insects that perch eats, right? That's right. Guys, you definitely need a fluorocarbon leader. You absolutely definitely need to have a small hook and the right tackle, because perch won't bite on heavy gear. Where to catch it at this time? If in autumn we were catching it on the edges in other places now, when perch starts to spawn, soon it will be full of roe. You catch it and it starts to spray you all, so to speak, with its milt. That wasn't the last one, dear, that was the second to last. Well, probably the last one. Oh, maybe, it's best to catch it. Guys, in shallow bays and at the exits of the bay. So for example, we can observe somewhere, there's a bay with a shallow area, and in front of the channel there's a short ledge. We're not fishing in a shallow bay, but we're working this short ledge. They come in here to the little hole, and right now you can catch some decent ones, you won't believe it, up to half a kilo. The perch is biting well. If so, you can also catch perch in shallow bays, where the water is warmed up, and they will bite a little smaller in size. But those little ones come out there to have lunch. So they come out to eat in the morning and then come out to eat in the evening. The same pot. First of all, we look at the food base. If there are fry there, meaning we approach and see a lot of small fish, and if they start scattering and jumping around, if it's a fish, then that's really great. Guys, so there's definitely fish there. Very good spots for catching perch. These are the kinds of drop-offs. So right here near the shore, there's depth. Somewhere, guys, about 1 meter to 1.5 meters. And it goes deeper into the channel. It's being eroded here. It's not like 5 and 9 meters, it's 7 meters. No, it's about 2-3 meters here. This depth is perfect for him. He is just standing in these coastal areas. But here, for example, with the 2 grams I have right now, it's hard to cast. Here, you need to cast about 3 grams because the current just sweeps the bait away. There's a shell here. The bait is dragged along this shell. It turns out very cool, friends. Everything is as usual. Everything is very simple. Where there is a perch, a nutrient medium, there are perch hanging around there. In the spring now, that is. The bay has warmed up. Small fish have come out there, and perch is valuable. And it comes out, but it doesn't go right into the shallow water at 0.5 meter. As I told you, he stands somewhere on the edge. On this one in front of the bay, it grazes, that is, you punch like this, throw it in the bay, there are no bites, then throw it beyond the bay and drag it. So, it turns out that on the edge like this, that's where you get bites. As for baits, if in winter and in autumn, I told you guys, fish purely with passive baits, possibly crayfish. Maybe something like crayfish is good, but now I can confidently say, guys, passive baits are more and more gradually taking a back seat. The warmer the water gets, the more you can use twisters or some non-animated baits that already have a little tail movement. As for the wiring itself, let me explain. If I told you guys you need to do the wiring in detail when you catch perch, in the fall, quite smoothly, that is, you should slowly pull along the bottom. With a light tapping, drag it along the bottom. Right now, it's actually the opposite. The perch are leading an active lifestyle. The fry have come to life and they're chasing after them faster. Water is warmer, easier for fish to behave. And you just need to retrieve it like this. 1, 2. Touch the bottom, no bites, 1, 2. That is, your bait should touch the bottom, but at the same time, half of the wiring, it should not lie on the bottom. It should move along the bottom, but it should be jumping like this, with those kinds of movements. Jumps, 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 with crazy animations. When you have such crazy animations, with pauses, the perch comes from a distance and hits your bait. This, guys, is a tried and true option. You can definitely try slowly, play around a bit, and you'll get some bites, yes. But for the perch to notice your bait, it needs to be visible, from quite a distance. You need to make those quick retrieves. So we make the cast. The bait has fallen and touched the bottom. After that, we just wait there for a couple of seconds. There might be an attack, someone might nibble, or maybe something else. We just take it, we reel in with some slack, we do one. One, almost like for pike, one with a little lift. Nothing's happening, one, and pause. The most important thing in these lifts, the perch lifts, as I call them, is that at the moment, when you make the lift and the pause, you shouldn't have a tight line. So your line should be slightly slack. Absolutely. Now I'll tell you why and how this happens. When we have, with you guys, the line is stretched, like this all the way here. The perch just takes our bait from the bottom in the thickness into its mouth, and it immediately feels the tension, this tension, and it spits it out. So he feels the resistance. When our line is slack, he takes it with a strike and you feel it in the rod. And he doesn't feel this tension, the resistance of the line. This is a very important point. This is a very important point because, as I say, when there is tension and excess resistance, this is a fish. It just takes it in its mouth. You lead it. It felt something and that's it. And when it takes on the slack, you will feel either a poke. You immediately hook it or it's already lying there. You reel it in and it's sitting there. This happens very often. At this time of year, he takes the weak spot. Make sure to give some slack in the line. Under no circumstances should you create tension. Well, of course, despite those cases when there's a strong current, like here or there, or if you have a really heavy weight from the lure or the fishing spot. If it's a medium depth river, guys, make sure to do this cherry work. Everything is great with you. Now I'll show you the lures that I fish with. Now in the spring, I'll show you, well, the type of bait. I'll show you how they should look and what color they should be. Color is always important when it comes to perch. This is a swampy color, some kind of green-brown color, meaning something closer to natural, possibly with some glitter. But I'm not using anything like bright lime green or orange right now. Maybe in the summer, when the fish is really active and swimming in the water column. Yes, we use lures like that. And when the fish is still more passive, so to speak, moving from cold water to warm, this comatose begins, then we use baits. All natural colors. Because if you look into the water right now, you'll see that the water is very clear. You can see all the weeds, right? Even at a depth of 2 to 3 meters, you can definitely see what's going on at 2 meters. Here, and if the perch sees something bright, it will just drop away from there. He won't be there. It will catch on because it will realize that something is off. It's something that's off. Right now, perch. On my last fishing trip, I found an interesting bay in one spot. And I found there, guys, there were little splashes. Fry. I thought, whoa, a school of perch. Let's cast there. 1 cast, 2 casts, 3 casts. I caught a pike right on the second cast. It wasn't a perch. A small pike was chasing it. The perch was standing, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, on the edge. So I started casting over the bay and pulling from the bottom, and then I found some nice perch there. Maybe the pike is coming out and the perch is changing with it. So periodically, maybe something like a mouse, we don't know how the fish are doing. It's important to eat in turns because the perch will also come with the school to feed when the pikes are biting, so they don't get eaten themselves. It all makes sense. The small fish also feed like that. The sun warmed up, she went out there, then she also rolled down a little or stood under the berm. In the warm spots, it's all different. So all these nuances need to be taken into account, and you should try to catch it right there, where it will be biting. I've prepared some packs of lures, guys, to show you what I've been using and what I will be using. This is roughly the type of lure that should be used. Look, if before I was using lures like this one, it's kind of a slug, yeah, in the color of motor oil, very thin and subtle. You could catch passive perch with this lure because it resembles the color of some kind of worm. And this one is red, well, green, some kind of swampy color. So right now, at this time of year, you can already take lures like this one. This bait, it's also somewhat passive, but it's a bit larger and a little brighter in color than usual. I fish in the winter, and in the fall, like in winter, I don't use those, I go for something a bit darker. The next lures, everyone, guys, for example, this color, I'll just show you this dark one, dark purple. You see, it's called violet. Even a dark purple slug, like this. Right now, you can basically attach it since it has a slight ultraviolet glow. But still, in the fall, they tend to bite better than now. Right now they're biting, but not that great. Right now I'm getting the best bites on something like this. Look, this is the color of a loch. It's like an active half crayfish. The floor is some kind of incomprehensible dragonfly, yes, with these ones behind it. With its tail and wings, which work really well, and actively in the water during the cast. That is such a bait. It is active in itself. It creates vibration, noise, and this is how it does it. Like this tail, the fish itself rushes at it. Also, of course, here's just another lure of the same color. Look. Glamour. Color, glamour. What is it called? But you see the glitter. It's not very bright, just like a light green, white, something like that. Yes, in color, but at the same time, fish go well to it underwater. It's small, good. We also don't forget about our favorites, for example, such as Twister motor oil whiskey. Motor oil always works in summer and in cold water. It's bad, but in cold water like this. On warmed up water, the Twister works well. If you have a lure like this, with that kind of tail, guys, you can just bite off the tail with your fingers in cold water, and you'll end up with a nice passive lure. Lures of this type work excellently. Well, of course, right now, as I said, something like larvae. Here's, for example, a larva in motor oil, like a dragonfly larva. Yeah, this one will work great in this kind of water right now. Why is that? In the fall, they also bite because they become more passive, like in a passive form. And right now, they're biting because it's warm, and all the larvae are starting to grow and come to life. They will soon start hatching when the water begins to warm up. They'll soon start hatching when the water starts to warm up. A dragonfly will fly out, all sorts of fleas, mosquitoes, bugs, worms, and other nasty things for us. But for perch, these larvae are exactly the food that they eat. So guys, we need to give him lures like this for him to munch on. As for weight, sinker. If I told you to use only light weights in cold water during winter and fall if you want to catch fish, you should have been using tungsten. But now you can confidently switch to lead. Don't forget about the fluorocarbon leader. As I said, with a diameter from 0.14 to 0.18, but that's how I fish. And don't forget about lead because you can buy lead everywhere. It's a cheap sinker and 2-3 grams in the fight. So we take it even without that fish without a snap. Let's say a 2 to 3 gram weight, a small hook, and a 2-inch lure, somewhere between 2.5 to 3 inches. For perch, it's going to be a blast, guys, and you'll have an amazing bite. In this video, I wasn't fishing and so on. It turned out to be long. For those interested in how I fish in the spring, check out the channel. Look here, there will be a bunch now. Links from the pop-up windows where I fish in spring, there will be fishing. Here we have the theory. I'm telling you what I fish with and how I fish, guys. I wish you all good luck, let it be. You always get bites for those who didn't understand something or want to know more. Write in the comments, ask your questions, maybe they'll be in the next videos. I'll make a video about micro lures, spoons, and micro spinners in the river. So in spring, when it starts to warm up a bit, if you're interested in this, feel free to write in the comments. Today they were just talking about jigging and silicone. Good luck to you all, guys. Bye for now. Пока.